Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Once again, you're welcome here on La Tribune, the Watchers of Consciences. This is the headline of international news. The American president, Donald Trump, is very upset, he is frustrated, he is uncomfortable with what is happening on the side of the EU field of hostilities, Ukraine, Russia. Indeed, mutual attacks continue between Russia and Ukraine. It should be noted that it is Ukraine that is at the root of these attacks. For the moment, Russia has not yet carried out attacks against energy infrastructures. Russian hostilities continue on the ground. It is Ukraine that continues to attack. Even, we have the center, the gas distribution center in Sauda that was a victim of an explosion, and up until now it continues to burn. Yes, Russia is there observing. Regarding this, President Donald Trump is not at all happy. So, that's one. Secondly, it must be said, a meeting is taking place today, March 24, 2025, in Riyadh, between the Russian delegation and the American delegation. The objective is to decide on the various details of the ceasefire and the potential peace agreement that should result from it. So in the context of this video conference, these are the two elements we will discuss. There you go. But before continuing, I ask you to share the video conference as much as possible. Share it in all possible groups. There you go. So, let's go on to the first element. According to the official information, President Donald Trump is frustrated by the mutual attacks between Russia and Ukraine, despite his peacekeeping efforts. The information is relayed to us by the media called The Telegraph. It hurts, doesn't it, when you are making a colossal effort to achieve peace. And the people you are fighting for, you have one of them who is stubborn, who violates the verbal agreement, even if the written agreement has not yet been found. It hurts a lot. Will this push American President Donald Trump to become discouraged? This is the question that many are already asking. But the answer has already been found. The answer is found. So, we have sources suggesting that the White House remains calm and advises to trust the process. So, even if it is evident that Donald Trump is increasingly irritated by the ongoing attacks between Russia and Ukraine, which persist despite these attempts at peace negotiations. Despite everything, Donald Trump advised that the White House must remain calm and that the White House must trust the process. That is to say, the process that has begun and should lead to a peace agreement. And so, here is the first element. Another element is that it must be said. The Russian Ministry of Defense has made announcements. There are still strikes against Russian energy infrastructures. Russia points an accusing finger at Ukraine. Russia believes that these strikes against energy infrastructures once again prove the Kiev regime's inability to negotiate. You know, we have talked about it here. Russia has never stopped saying that Ukraine does not want to negotiate. Ukraine does not want the advent of peace. But if Zelensky were in his normal mandate, Ukraine would obviously be active in respecting the initial agreements, whether those agreements are verbal, or whether those agreements, whatever their nature, Ukraine would seek to demonstrate good faith. But President Zelensky is not in a normal mandate. What supports? The thing that supports his mandate is the continuation of the conflict, since he has established martial law. So for him to continue, the conflict must continue. But if the conflict stops, it is not to his advantage. So imagine, like those whom they even call dictators in Africa and elsewhere, what has become a worse dictator compared to those whom the West itself labels as dictators. And what is very complicated is that he is both a dictator and becomes the bearer of misfortune for his people, since it is the conflict that suits him. If he goes to the elections, he has no chance, not even, I don't even know, being elected as a simple mayor or something. So he already knows that. And Zelensky knows that as long as the conflict continues, despite many countries having said they no longer have the financial means to assist Ukraine, Zelensky knows that the money will always come in. The proof is, this issue, which is dividing Europe and America, this matter of negotiation with Russia, which is dividing Europe and America today, Zelensky is taking advantage of it because before the negotiations do not start with America. Europe had said it had no money to produce the weapons to continue assisting Ukraine. But since it started, the division between the West and their main allies, the West, which said it had no money, these countries have decided to dig into their pockets. There is even a first package that has been approved to be offered to Ukraine, except that Hungary, led by Viktor Orban, blocked it. So, Zelensky finds his interest in continuing the conflict. He has no interest in the conflict ending. And this is what could greatly harm President Donald Trump. But who said to trust the process? Since today already, the Americans are meeting with the Russians in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So, what also needs to be added is that American President Donald Trump, he declared that Washington and Kiev had reached an agreement on mineral agreements. It's a double redundancy, but obviously they had reached a conclusion. There you go, and it was here, this tomb. And okay, they agreed on a deal for the exploitation of rare earth minerals in Ukraine. So, and thus, she says that the signing of this agreement is expected very soon. So here is what is happening on the side of the White House and what is happening on the ground. Russia has thus shown its goodwill through all the actions it has taken so far. The order that Vladimir Putin gave to stop attacks on energy infrastructures is still valid. But it is Ukraine that is violating. We will see. It will be difficult since Europe also has a desire for the conflict to continue. Because Europe believes that Putin is not sincere. And even if we try to make peace with Russia, not Ukraine, but rather, yes, Europe says that Putin is not sincere, so Russia is not sincere. And even if they made peace with Russia, Russia would attack them at any moment. By surprise. So, here's the situation. We will continue to follow everything that will result from this. We will come back to discuss here on the platform for Awakening Consciousness. So thank you to each and every one of you. This was the voice of your one and only Samurai.